Hello everyone, my name is Loko, and today we're gonna take a look at a game that I have played recently. Now, I've been getting a lot of questions over the last few months on how to deal with Immortal Sentry all-ins and all that sort of jazz, and honestly, it is not an easy to answer question. So, in this game, I actually played this game last night on the live stream, so it is a fairly recent one, but in this game, my opponent is going to go for some sort of a delayed Immortal Sentry all-in. Now, I can already spoil you that, because obviously we're not really going to be talking, like, we're not gonna do the commentator orgasm where we're gonna be screaming over a replay or whatever. We are actually just going to watch this game from my point of view, and we're gonna be talking about the things that I was thinking about while playing this game. So this is a game that I played last night. It is a Zerg versus Protoss on the map Derelict Watcher TE, I believe? I believe that's what this map is called. And I'm going to be opening up a completely standard build order. Now, I've been making like videos for this build order for the longest time right now, and it's basically just a standard 3-hatch opener because my opponent is going for a pretty quick Nexus himself. So I believe my opponent in this specific game is going to go for a Nexus expand and then follow it up with a lot of pressure. Now, Zerg vs Protoss in general is kind of a rough matchup for a lot of people, because it seems like the Protoss can sort of do, like, impossible to hold all-ins during the entirety of the game, period. Like, there's so many all-ins that the Protoss can go for off of 2 bases that it seems sort of unstoppable. Maybe right now you manage to hold all the 1-base Protoss all-ins, which are not super hard to get, but once you get into the real meat, which is the 2-base all-ins, it can become infinitely stronger. Actually, like every now and then, there's a new all-in that pops up all of a sudden, and turns out that the current metagame is not built for that, so Zerg players will need to adjust. But for now, this build order, the safe 3-hatch opener with the 6-minute double gases, should be able to pretty much give you an advantage either way. As long as you know, do some proper scouting. As you can see, my opponent is being really annoying with his little probe harassment right there. I've actually noticed that players are getting better and better at that. This player, I believe, was just Grandmaster, either low Grandmaster or top Master, I'm not completely certain on that. Either way, he's at least in the top 200-300 in North America right now, because this was played on the North American server. And as you could notice right there, he managed to delay my natural for a good 20 seconds or so, which is something that you honestly wouldn't really see in like mid-masters or whatever. So that's kind of annoying. Not the biggest of deals, however. I'm going to still be scouting with my Overlord, still gonna make a set of Zerglings, and I'm going to be sending a drone, at least I should be, there we go, gonna be sending a drone straight up to my 3rd base to make that into a hatchery as soon as I possibly can. Now, I do realize, okay, my opponent is going for a gate at the front, there's already a forge down, so there will be a Nexus down 100% of the time as well. And I'm going to be queuing up my 2nd queen and check where that probe went. Now, I haven't seen the probe going home so far, which is a little bit annoying because I don't actually know where that scouting probe is at. But honestly, it doesn't really matter that much, as long as I scout around for it in a little bit. Obviously, I don't want that probe to be able to make a lot of pylons all over the map and sort of me not noticing about it. So I'm sort of going to try and figure out exactly what my opponent is going for while looking for that probe. Going to use one of my Zerglings to patrol the ramp at my 3rd base, because the probe is most likely gonna go up there to check whether or not I have my 3rd base up. And I'm gonna use the other Zergling to check out what is going on at the front of the Protoss. I'm gonna poke up a little bit, see that he's not spending any sort of chrono boost in any weird places. Didn't have that thing yet, and there we go, I actually do manage to find the probe. The probe did check for the 3rd base, and I do manage to chase it down right now. Which is really nice for me, because I have a Zergling at the front right now, which basically sees any sort of outmoving Protoss units, including probes, and obviously I have caught the one scouting probe that my opponent had out on the map. So I know that my opponent will pretty much be blind for a pretty long time until he starts Phoenix scouting or, you know, hallucination scouting or whatever, but I'm pretty safe and set to go from this point on. So right now, up until now, you could pretty much only see me make drones. I've not really been making anything but drones. And honestly, you shouldn't really be making anything but drones. I made 1 set of Zerglings in total. If you take a look at the unit tab so far, it is 30 drones for me. But obviously, I got a 3rd base up, I got 5 more in production, and my production will soon start to kicking. Now, the 6-minute mark is when you want to start getting your gases up. That's exactly when you see me taking the double gas in the natural. And you can see I hit the 44 supply mark at the 6-minute mark, which is always a little bit of a nice benchmark to have. I went over that before, but basically it means that whenever you're at the 6-minute mark and you're playing a standard 3-hatch opener, you should be able to hit the 44 supply mark exactly at 6 minutes, at the very least. You can actually hit it slightly earlier than that. So here we go. I'm going to get my spawning pool, or my Roachborn up, going to start my double Overlord scout, just the standard time really, 6 minutes and 30 seconds, gonna be flying in double Overlord, and gonna start a creep turner on my side of the map. Also gonna start another one for my main base. So basically these overlords that I'm flying into his main base right now are going to determine whether or not I will be able to go for a lair first. Now I do see the gases at the natural are taken, I do see a robotics down, so you know, I feel sort of safe. I'm not completely sure what my opponent is going for yet, but I do know that I don't really need to start making units just yet. I can actually continue droning up as much as I possibly want to, which is the most important little bit of information that I have right now. Now, I still have that overlord in his main base. I also noticed there was a forge down, which is a little bit awkward. But honestly, it's weird because he has double forge, but I'm not really going to worry about it too much. I'm just going to continue my build order like I normally would. Now, for me, it's really important to realize right now to think, what can he make out of that robotics facility? Let's think a little bit about that. He can obviously make Immortals, he can make Colossus, but he can also make Observers and Warp Prisms. And Warp Prisms is something that is becoming more and more common since the latest patch, which basically gave them a speed buff. So that is something that I need to be worrying for. And as you can see in the production tab, like I mentioned, he's going for the late Immortal Sentry roll-in. So like you can see, I'm actually going to be a little bit careful, and I'm going to have to defend that Warp Prism that is going out on the map right now. Now, my lair is done. I'm going to be starting a Hydralisk then, as well as Roach Speed, because obviously I don't really know yet what he is going for. I don't know yet that it is going to be an Immortal Sentry all-in. So I'm basically just going to drone up until I have 3 base saturation, but I do know that I will need to start making units really soon. So luckily for me, he actually flies the Warp Prism straight past a scout of mine, which is obviously something that is nearly impossible to know for him. So I do get kind of lucky with that, and it basically means that I need to rush up my ramp ASAP. Like, if you've ever played Zerg, you probably died to this sort of a push before, where they basically just fly sentries on top of your ramp, and they basically force field your own ramp and not allowing you to get into your own main base. So I'm actually going to put units straight on my ramp right now, trying to play it as safely as I can, and I basically deny this aggression with that. Already getting a few safety spine crawlers in my main base just in case, but it turns out I pretty much delayed all aggression. So as you can see on the production tab right now, my opponent did start to really ramp up the production on the Immortals. Now for me, it is absolutely crucial to realize what is going on, so I need to be scouting the third base. A standard third base for a Protoss player will go down around the 9 to 9.5 minute mark. So as I can see right now, shit, there's no third base up whatsoever, so I'm only going to be producing units. If you take a look really quickly, I'm actually going to take control of the camera really quickly. I have 6 gas gases going. I got full saturation in all my bases. I got Hydralisk range going up and Hydralisk speed soon. Or Hydralisk speed and Hydralisk range soon. And I got +1 attack. So basically so far, as you can see, I am max saturation. And let's think a little bit about this. It means that my opponent does not have a third base. It means that I have a much bigger income than my opponent, and that directly means I will be able to produce more units. Now, for me, it is really important that I buy as much time as I can right now, because the only thing my opponent can really do at this point in the game is go for a 2-base all-in. If my opponent is gonna expand right now, I will simply just push out. So the only thing I really need to do from now on is make only units. I know I have bigger income, I know I have more production, and I therefore know that I only really need to wait for him to move out. So here we go, I see a lot of Immortals, I see a lot of Sentries, so I'm not even gonna bother with moving out. I still have a Zergling patrolling his third base, I know that he will take it or not, and I'm just taking my fourth base just in case, but honestly that's just because I slipped a little bit in my macro, and I didn't really queen inject that properly, so I'm missing a little bit of larva, getting a little bit too much minerals, so I'm going to start a fourth base just in case. So here we go, I see him move out right now, and as you can see, I have basically only been producing units as soon as I hit max saturation. I'm going to try and hold this push the best I can, but obviously it is going to be Immortals and Sentries. I haven't seen any Colossus. I would highly doubt there is going to be any sort of Colossus with this army, but it is going to be a very, very strong push. So here we go, my opponent is actually still here. I'm just running in a Zerg to check out what is going on. He's using the Warp Prism to warp in as many units. And as you can see, I'm going to be setting up my little concave right here. Now this concave will basically allow me to get as much surface area as I possibly can. So here he comes in, I'm taking the winning map mostly for this. Going to try and get a full surround on all his units. I will really need to target fire down all these Immortals, because Immortals do insane DPS to this army that I got right here. And luckily for me, his force fields weren't really perfect right there. But as you can see, mostly in the supply count right now, I'm nearly doubling him. Just because of the sheer amount of time that he gave me and a little bit of delaying of the push that I managed to do. So he realizes, okay, I probably can't take this fight. So he will probably just move back and try and take a third right now. So the only thing I really need to do at this point in the game is make sure that I will not allow that third from ever going up. And basically just push as much as I can. I should probably also start getting a Spire up right now, just in case he will have maybe double Colossi production going on really soon. As you can see on the production tab, he is going for Templars instead, but obviously we don't know that at this point in the game. But I'm just going to try and move out right now. I do not want him to take the third. Now, he did take out the Zergling that I had at his third base to basically scout what is going on. And here we go. He's actually having his army out of position. It is not in a proper position. My army is much bigger than his, and I will simply be able to clean up this army with just proper macro, with greedy droning up, with full base saturation on 3 base, and realizing that the only thing I needed to do was make units after hitting the max saturation mark. I want to thank you guys all for watching. Have an amazing day. Do not forget to smile, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!